Tonight, we will begin with breaking news straight from our news sources in London. We are reporting that the Teletubby Tinky Winky was killed in an unfortunate kite flying accident in Chicago. There is suspicion of foul play as 3 individuals have been taken in for questioning, including her brothers, Nono and Lala, as well as Mel Gibson for his history of hating for all things good in this world. In other news, a groundbreaking development in the search for one of the world's greatest hide-and-go-seek champions. After appearing in Antarctica earlier this year, Waldo is now believed to have been sighted in Houston, Texas at a Mitt Romney rally. Wait, this just in. Waldo was found in the shower room of Penn State University. Now, when Waldo was asked as to why he was hiding there, it seemed like a good place to hide for many years because the guy in the shower next to him seemed to be getting away with this whole thing for a while. That's interesting. All right. So in local news, a homeless man was apprehended after having been dancing on a Milwaukee County bus earlier today. Police say that he was dancing to the song Gangnam Style and began to take his clothes off while a scantily clad woman was on Wisconsin Avenue as he passed by. He chanted, "Hey, sexy lady." And finally, last night in Seattle, a couple of mental patients were cited for loitering after having been standing on the sidelines of the Packers-Seahawks game in zebra suits. That is your news, and we will turn it on over to Marco with the weather.
All right, everybody, turn on the lights and put on your pants. It's time for the weather. It was raining today in Kentucky, where last night a pair of midgets was arrested in a bar in Frankfurter and charged with numerous offenses, including being drunk in public and reckless discharge of a firearm. The 2 munchkins entered the establishment at approximately 12:04 p.m. and stayed there well into the night, drinking shots of Black Label and Jaeger bombs in amounts that witnesses agreed were, quote, at complete odds with the little feller's sizes. The situation began to get out of hand when one of the gnomes jumped on the other's shoulders and began to open fire with an adorable little small caliber handgun he had smuggled into the bar under his little shirt. Preliminary police reports indicate numerous ankle gunshot wounds along with severe damage to the bar's baseboards. Moving on to international weather, in China, hot sun came out today. Sun went down to the bakery to buy a glorious People's Republic of Happy Joyful China Hello Kamehameha ham and cheese breakfast bagel, where the weather team caught up with him. When asked if he would come out during the day or at any time during the following week, Sun became irritated and screeched, "I am not weather, leave me alone." In Russia, the bears on unicycles that inhabit the country would laugh if they heard me say it was cold, but I tell you all now it's colder than a fart in a dead Eskimo up there. Moving on to South America. South America is experiencing a heat wave and most of the continent is hot and wet, which is okay if you're with a lady, but not so good if you're in the jungle. My advice to you, stay out of Brazil. Go west, young man, to Venezuela. Then we go on to Britain, where it's dark and dreary with a depressing lack of corrective dentistry, although the rest of the continent is actually quite nice. The Polish think that maybe that's the sun coming up, although it could just be a big light bulb someone threw up into the sky. It's hard to tell sometimes. In Austria, they're screaming orders at the sun to go away. The French are naked because they're French, and the Italian men are taking advantage of the clear skies to adjust themselves in public so that everybody can see. Ireland is too drunk to care about the weather, and the Finlanders are completely incomprehensible. And finally, we move back home where the folks in McCormick are too drunk to care about the weather, although it will be nice and sunny for the rest of the week. It's currently 73 down by the airport, which is stupid because I don't know anybody that lives down by the airport. But downtown, it's much hotter. Downtown is on fire, man. I suggest you all take advantage of this heat as it will be one of the last comfortable stretches of weather for nude sunbathing. So get out there and get naked, Marquette, but remember that it's always sunny in Philadelphia.
Thank you for the insightful weather, Marco. Now don't go anywhere because when we return, we will be joined by Saddam Hussein and Michael Jackson. If Brett Favre would have known 2 years after his retirement interceptions would count as touchdowns, we would be blessed with his presence for the football field for decades. Now up next, Zach has sports.
Hey guys, Zach here with all you need to know with what's going on in sports today. In the wake of an NHL lockout, hockey fans are hoping that the lockout will indeed end and that there will be a season. However, the city of Columbus, Ohio is hoping the lockout will never end so that fans don't have to ever see another pitiful season of hockey from the Blue Jackets. On Saturday, both the San Francisco Giants and the Cincinnati Reds clinched their divisions and will be moving on into the postseason. It was the Giants' 89th win on the season and the Reds' 92nd win on the season. Perhaps the biggest baseball news on Saturday came out of Houston, where the Astros finally won their 50th game. On Friday, NBA owners agreed to expand the playoffs from 16 teams to 28 teams to ensure once and for all that the regular season would be almost completely meaningless. Said one NBA owner, under confidentiality, we agree that we should just let all the teams make it to the playoffs except for the Charlotte Bobcats and Sacramento Kings. In the first NFL game of the year, the Cowboys beat the Giants, and Kevin Ogletree had the biggest week out of any wide receiver in fantasy football. After being a waiver wire pickup, Ogletree had 31 total yards in Week 2, proving why it's called fantasy football. If you haven't heard, the NFL and the officials have been in a lockout all year, and the NFL has had to bring in backup officials to referee the games, and have been, to say the least, atrocious. On Sunday, Jim Harbaugh, head coach for the San Francisco 49ers, fooled the referees into giving him 2 additional challenges that he should have never received in the first place. Silly Harbaugh, never fool the referees, especially ones that know their time is limited in their position, as they gave them win in the Minnesota Vikings. That's right, Minnesota. One of your sports teams finally won a game. Records show that we have to look back to June of 2009 to find a win by a Minnesota team, specifically the Minnesota Twins, that sent the state of Minnesota into a state holiday of celebration. Finally, yesterday, the Green Bay Packers lost to the Seahawks on the final play of the game by a score of 14-12. Many football experts are calling the final play of the game, which had a blown missed penalty and a misinterpretation of who had the ball, when replays clearly showed Green Bay intercepted, the worst call in NFL history. And I'm all about social justice and human rights, but I think it's time that we decided that being an NFL referee just isn't for the blind. Back to you, Kevin.
Thank you for joining us on tonight's edition of MU180. We hope to see you next week as we are joined by Hitler and Jesus as they square off in finger painting. In the meantime, so long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen.